Elon Musk's shocking move restricts Starlink access in Ukraine to prevent World War III. Elon Musk claims that SpaceX has limited internet access in Ukraine to avert an escalation that may lead to World War III. We're trying to do the right thing, adds the billionaire. According to Elon Musk, SpaceX's recent restriction on the Ukrainian military's use of its satellite internet service for drone control was to prevent the conflict from escalating into a world war. Answering a request from a former NASA astronaut's proposal to restore full internet access for Ukrainian forces, SpaceX CEO Musk tweeted late Sunday, "Starlink is the communication backbone of Ukraine, especially at the front lines, where almost all other internet connectivity has been destroyed, but we will not enable conflict escalation that may lead to World War III." The U.S. space company, founded by the billionaire entrepreneur, has been using its Starlink satellite internet service to keep Ukraine online since the beginning of the war, as Russia attacks severely damaged Ukrainian infrastructure. Last week, SpaceX President Gwynne Shotwell said the service, which Ukrainian forces have used to control drones, was never meant to be weaponized, adding that the company had taken steps to curb its use without spelling out what measures had been taken. The news caused an uproar in Ukraine, with Ukrainian presidential advisor Mikhailo Podolak tweeting that companies had to decide if they were on the side of Ukraine and the right to freedom, or on Russia's side and its right to kill and seize territories. Ukrainian's digital transformation minister Mikhailo Fedorov told Politico there had been no problems with Starlink terminals in Ukraine so far, adding that these saved thousands of lives daily. In another comment on Sunday, Musk noted that SpaceX's internet terminals were meant for private use, not military, but that the company had not exercised its rights to turn them off. "We're trying hard to do the right thing, where the right thing is a complicated moral question," Musk added. The entrepreneur has regularly used Twitter to express his views on the war in Ukraine. Last October, he raised concerns in Kyiv and among allies after posting tweets picking up Kremlin talking points, presenting them as a peace plan. Later that month, Musk said he was no longer willing to pay for the Starlink terminals in Ukraine and asked the U.S. Department of Defense to pick up the bill instead. Elon Musk has a message for whoever might blame him for a third world war erupting over Ukraine. It's not his fault. His decision to restrict Ukrainian access to his communications technology, disabling satellite broadband use for any potential strike on Russian soil, could help prevent the conflict from spiraling out of control, if you ask him, that is. The serial entrepreneur has become a vital player in Ukraine's defense thanks to his Starlink service, which has enabled communications for its soldiers up to the front lines since last March. But Musk has complained about the cost of this pro bono technology, at one point tweeting that the cost to his company SpaceX would exceed $100 million by the end of the year. He even floated the idea that U.S. taxpayers foot the bill before dropping the idea. On Sunday, Musk didn't cite any objections over any financial hit from providing the coverage. Instead, he argued that restricting Kyiv's communications would prevent the regional conflict from evolving into something worse. His specific worry is that his satellite-based broadband provider could be used to mount long-range drone strikes in Russian territory that might herald a new, more horrific phase of the war. In early December, Kyiv hit 2 targets hundreds of miles from its border, a politically controversial issue that some argue could transform a war of liberation into an offensive one. "We will not enable escalation of the conflict that may lead to World War III," he posted on Sunday. Russia has also threatened to shoot down Musk's Starlink satellites in low Earth orbit, claiming they are a legitimate military target. The world's second richest person has become increasingly concerned about the prospects of a broader conflagration. Musk has echoed warnings of a global nuclear war from longtime associate David Sachs, like himself and Peter Thiel, a member of Silicon Valley's so-called PayPal mafia. SpaceX accuses Kyiv of weaponizing communications. The CEO of Tesla, SpaceX, and Twitter has taken an active interest in resolving the conflict, which is nearing its first anniversary. In October, shortly before Ukraine liberated the regional capital of Kherson, Musk said he had spent an entire night thinking about how to de-escalate tensions where professional diplomats had failed. He even floated a plan that would officially cede Crimea to Russia, quickly proving unpopular. Musk's comment on Sunday came in response to a request from Scott Kelly, a former NASA astronaut and an activist supporting Ukraine's freedom fighters. Defense from a genocidal invasion is not an offensive capability. It's survival, wrote Kelly, whose twin brother recently defeated a candidate backed by Thiel in Arizona's Senate race. Musk dismissed Kelly's remarks in a tweet, characterizing them as media and other propaganda. 2 minutes later, the SpaceX CEO agreed that left-wing activists appeared to be agitating for World War III. Starlink's use in the war threatens to become a contention between SpaceX and the Ukrainian government. Earlier this month, Musk's operation chief and number 2 at the company, Gwynne Shotwell, went so far as to upbraid Kyiv's use of the satellite broadband service at a conference held in Washington, D.C. It was never intended to be weaponized, she said, adding, Ukrainians have leveraged it in ways that were unintentional and not part of any agreement. On February 11th, Mr. Kelly tweeted, at Elon Musk, Ukraine desperately needs your continued support. Please restore the full functionality of your Starlink satellites. Defense from a genocidal invasion is not an offensive capability. It's survival. Innocent lives will be lost. You can help. Thank you. In response, Twitter's new CEO stated that he would not allow the escalation of a conflict that may lead to World War III. You're smart enough not to swallow media and other propaganda BS. Starlink is the communication backbone of Ukraine, especially at the front lines, where almost all other internet connectivity has been destroyed. But we will not escalate the conflict that may lead to World War III, said Elon Musk. As per a report in Fortune, the usage of Starlink in the war raises the possibility of a dispute between SpaceX and the Ukrainian government. At a conference in Washington, D.C. earlier this month, Gwynne Shotwell, SpaceX's president and COO, criticized Kyiv's usage of the satellite internet service. She said, it was never intended to be weaponized. Ukrainians have leveraged it in ways that were unintentional and not part of any agreement. Since Russia bombed communications and power infrastructure in Ukraine, the country has relied on 2,200 low-orbiting satellites as its lifeline. It is also to be noted that Starlink's terms of service document clearly states that it is not designed or intended for use with or in offensive or defensive weaponry or other comparable end uses. Musk previously told a blogger, SpaceX commercial terminals, like other commercial products, are intended for private use, not military use, but we have not used our ability to switch them off. We're working hard to do the right thing, he continued, when the right thing is an exceedingly tough moral dilemma. Musk has been critical of the media's portrayal of Russian-related topics. He has claimed that there is too much anxiety about Russia's bots and hackers. Elon Musk's SpaceX has put pressures in place to prevent Ukrainians' armed forces from using the company's Starlink satellite internet service for controlling drones. SpaceX's president said on February 8th, Reuters reports, the Ukrainian military has taken advantage of Starlink satellites to access the internet when the power is out, or there is no internet access. It is also more secure than other networks and makes it nearly impossible for Russian troops to intercept Ukrainian activity. Gwynne Shotwell, SpaceX's president and chief operating officer, said that SpaceX's Starlink satellite internet service was never meant to be weaponized. However, Ukrainians have leveraged it in ways that were unintentional and not part of any agreement, she said during a conference in Washington, D.C. Shotwell also said that Ukrainians' military had used the Starlink satellites to control drones. Unmanned aerial vehicles, also known as drones, have been key for the Ukrainian armed forces on the battlefield since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion, detecting and destroying Russian forces. There are things we can do to limit their ability to do that, Shotwell said. There are things we can do and have done, she said, without giving any details on the exact measures taken. According to Shotwell, Using the Starlink satellites to control drones went beyond the agreement SpaceX has with the Ukrainian government. The contract was meant for humanitarian purposes, like providing internet to hospitals, banks, and families, she said. We know the military is using them for comms, and that's okay, she said. But our intent was never to have them use it for offensive purposes. When asked about services outages that Starlink had suffered in Ukraine late last year, Shotwell said she did not know whether those outages were related to the measures taken to curb the Ukrainian military's use of the satellites to control drones. What do you think about these restrictions that Starlink accessed in Ukraine to prevent World War III? So this was all from today's video. Make sure you have hit the bell icon for upcoming videos. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.